A Los Angeles elementary school teacher accused of playing weird sex games with unsuspecting kids might have gone undiscovered if it weren't for an old-fashioned habit. In an age when many people shoot digital photos, print them out themselves, or just leave them on the computer, Mark Berndt allegedly brought 35mm photos of bound and gagged kids to a drugstore to be developed. Now, Berndt is being held on 23 counts of lewd conduct. He's pleaded not guilty through court-appointed lawyer Victor Acevedo. Unable to make the $23 million bail, $1 million for each of the children he allegedly tied up and fed cockroaches or semen, Berndt is being kept away from the general jail population for his own safety. The Los Angeles Unified School District has fired Berndt, but still pays the former Miramonte elementary teacher nearly $4,000 a month on top of the $40,000 that convinced him to leave quietly. As reports of Berndt's alleged creepy predilections and the continuing payouts make the news, and other area teachers are accused of predatory behavior, a scandal has developed, forcing LA Unified to reconsider how it responds to teacher misconduct and disrupting the lives of Miramonte's 85 teachers and 1,400 students. Mark Berndt started teaching at Miramonte Elementary in 1979. He lived most of his time in a Torrance apartment complex he owns with his sister. The K-6 school is in Florence-Firestone, an unincorporated area south of downtown Los Angeles. 98% of the school students are Latino. Many of the children are Mexican and Central American immigrants. Florence-Firestone is a low-income neighborhood. All the school students are eligible for reduced price or free lunches. The school's standardized test performance has been poor, but it has some devoted teachers dedicated to helping kids succeed. Mark Berndt might have seemed to be one of the good ones. Many of his students and their parents kept in touch long after the kids graduated. They'd later tell reporters about the games he led in class to reward his students, and they'd recall the quiet, solitary man's blue Volkswagen Beetle and his love of classical music and the Mojave Desert and camping. But reports that he'd drive his favorite students to the desert in that blue VW Bug now take on an ominous ring. And the classroom games are looking to be something truly disturbing. And it's all thanks to an anonymous photo processor. When a photo of a bound and gagged child, followed by dozens of similarly questionable photos, shocked an unnamed technician at a CVS pharmacy in South Bay, he or she called the Redondo Beach Police Department. A California law mandates that photo processors report suspected child abuse to police. Detectives began their hunt for a possible pedophile. The 400 pictures investigators have found show at least 23 children, ages 7 to 10. Cops discovered many of them amid Berndt's home library of commercial and fully legal videos showing adult actors in various acts of bondage and sadomasochism. The kids, mostly girls, were fully clothed in the photos, but the pictures are startling. Some showed a hand placing a 3-inch Madagascar cockroach in a kid's mouth. Other kids had tape across their mouths, and yet some of these kids were smiling, and a few even seemed to have put the tape on their mouths themselves. Some of the photos showed children with a thick white liquid around their lips. Several photos included a blue plastic spoon holding this white liquid. Detectives say Berndt is in a few photos, but nothing more than putting an arm around a kid or placing a hand over a child's mouth. It's not yet publicly clear what helped detectives identify the adult subject and photographer as Miramonte teacher Mark Berndt, but in January 2011, officers from the Special Victims Bureau visited his classroom and found blue plastic spoons matching those in the photos. A classroom spoon held traces of semen. Authorities got a DNA sample from Berndt, which matched. He's not currently accused of raping or molesting the kids, but rather of lewd conduct. What Mark Berndt is accused of doing is much stranger than simple physical and sexual aggression. Mark Berndt was apparently able to convince his students that they were playing a fun game and acting out his kinky sex fantasies. Interviews with former students even suggest that the kids who didn't get to participate in the weekly fetish sessions felt left out. On Fridays, Berndt bound and gagged his best and brightest pupils as part of a game. The reward system was based on any child's greatest weakness: sugar. Berndt called the white stuff that lured giant cockroaches into the kid's mouth sugar. Detectives say it was Berndt's own semen. And Obdulia Bueno told a local CBS outlet that she now believes that Berndt once sent home a photo of her son eating a semen-coated cookie. Another former student, Alex, told TV's Dr. Drew that the cookies tasted like kinda funky. They had a weird taste to them. Brian Claypool, an attorney representing Alex and 9 other alleged victims, says that some of his clients have more stories documenting Berndt's alleged semen fetish. A girl told Claypool that she saw Berndt moving his hand in his pants, then wiping a white substance from his hand into a plastic bag to save it. Other girls report seeing 3 test tubes holding a white substance in boxes Berndt asked them to help move. The saga of Mark Berndt's strange shenanigans is at last ended, and the district removed him from the classroom as soon as they knew he was a suspect. But it took police until January 2nd, 2012, a full year after finding the semen-encrusted blue spoon in his classroom, to arrest him. Once they were tipped off by that photo processor, cops quickly identified 23 of the children in the photos and began interviewing them and their parents, as well as other current and former students, plus teachers and other staff members. The kids ranged from 7 to 10 years old at the time the photos were snapped, in a period spanning 2008 to 2010. 21 of the 23 identified children are girls. They easily zeroed in on Miramonte's Mark Berndt as the alleged tormentor. As a matter of course, police wanted to keep the investigation quiet while they gathered evidence and interviewed witnesses, but the district had to get Berndt away from the kids. The Board of Education fired Mark Berndt in February 2011 as soon as they learned that the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department was investigating him. He fought to get back on the payroll. In response, LA Unified offered Berndt some $40,000, 4 months back pay and reimbursement for the cost of the health benefits that he'd been paying during that time. He continued to get $4,000 per month in health insurance and a pension for the rest of his life. The monetary offer wasn't presented to the 7 members of the district's elected Board of Education. The legal department made the decision on its own. Berndt accepted the financial terms and agreed to resign in June 2011. Facing furious criticism over paying off an alleged pervert, LA Unified General Counsel David Holmquist has explained that the district made the payout decision because they weren't able to conduct their own investigation into Berndt's behavior while the Sheriff's Department investigation was ongoing. The district did not at that point have the information it would need to fire Berndt, so it made the best deal it deemed possible in order to get rid of him quickly and relatively inexpensively. Holmquist and his colleagues continued to maintain that it was cheaper to pay Berndt than to fire him. Disputed firings can cost the district as much as $500,000, and they typically take several years to resolve. But Dan Basiloni, a former LA principal and a former official of the Associated Administrators of Los Angeles, told the LA Weekly that the district could simply have sent Berndt home with pay during the investigation, then easily use the Sheriff's Department's results to definitively fire him, sparing the school district and its taxpayers the ongoing payments funding an alleged criminal's retirement. Asked about these developments, LA Teachers Union President Warren Fletcher blamed the district for its failure to supervise schools. Critics note, too, that quietly fired teachers often can find employment in other districts, since the deals forcing them out of one school then leave no public record of their transgressions, and the infractions sometimes don't show enough evidence for criminal prosecution. In taking the easy way out and getting rid of a problem teacher, the BOE potentially puts other students at risk. LA Unified is still figuring out how to deal with dangerous teachers. In February 2012, spurred by the Mark Berndt scandal, Los Angeles Unified Superintendent John Deasy pledged to review the district's misconduct cases. His staff will review personnel files from the last 4 years, watching not only for sexual misconduct allegations like those against Berndt, but also for problems like excessive absenteeism. The district will report each incident to the state. Meanwhile, Republican lawmakers, Democratic Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, and the Board of Education are each seeking changes in state law to make it easier to fire teachers accused of sexual misconduct and to withhold retirement benefits from those convicted. These new regulations would also give the Board of Education more authority over dismissing teachers, a process that, if a teacher appeals, is currently overseen by a panel made up of 2 teachers and an administrative law judge. The Board of Education passed resolutions to this effect on March 20, 2012. The board, led by President Monica Garcia, also began drafting new rules on how and when to inform parents about accused teachers. By the end of March, the school district announced a new policy. If a teacher is removed from classrooms under allegations of sexual misconduct, parents will be notified within 72 hours. A previous policy, instated in 2009, did not demand notification, much less specify a timeline, and it said only that the decision was the responsibility of senior officials. A 2006 policy had mandated notification only of the parents of those children believed to be direct victims. The district still doesn't have a notification policy when it comes to allegations against non-teaching staff members. But changes are already happening at Miramonte Elementary, even as more trouble comes to light. Superintendent John Deasy has acknowledged that his administration didn't immediately file a state report on Mark Berndt, waiting until his February 2012 arrest, when they should have filed the report within 30 days of his February 2011 firing. Deasy has now transferred all of Miramonte Elementary staff and teachers to other schools. Retired Administrator Dolores Palacio has replaced Principal Martin Sandoval. A new batch of replacement teachers have come in, and for the remainder of the 2011-2012 school year, each of Miramonte's classrooms will have its own counselor to help students deal with the trauma and shake-ups spawned by Mark Berndt's alleged sex games. The relocations have drawn the ire of the teachers' union. The union accepted the moves when, according to President Warren Fletcher, its members were promised that the moves were temporary and that the scandal would not tarnish the innocent teachers' records. While Superintendent Deasy still maintains that all cleared teachers will be reassigned to Miramonte once the investigations are complete, teachers are incensed to find that the transfers have been listed in their personal records as administrative transfers, a seemingly innocuous term that's typically used to describe transfers that are part of disciplinary actions. The teachers' union has filed grievances against the move, and many parents, already frightened by and angry about the threat to their children's safety that predatory teachers represent and authority inaction encourages, are protesting the transfers as yet another disruption to their children's educations. But with new allegations coming out against teachers in the district, Superintendent Deasy must have been desperate for some course of action. Local reporters have dug up plenty of nasty incidents in the Los Angeles Unified School District that put the Mark Berndt case into a horrifying context. Some of them involve Berndt's own school. In 2005, Miramonte Elementary teacher's aide Ricardo Guevara was convicted of lewd acts against 3 girls. Administrators had allegedly discounted 3 sets of complaints before Guevara was caught literally with his hand in a girl's pants. The girls' families were awarded a total of $1.6 million. Even more incredibly, a father has claimed that when he complained about inappropriate photos Berndt took of his daughter, the school transferred the girl to another alleged abuser's classroom. That teacher is Martin Bernard Springer. On February 7, 2012, Springer, 49, was charged with 3 felony counts of lewdness. Hours later, the district fired him. He didn't appeal his dismissal within the 30-day window for objections. Attorney Gregory Owen, representing the alleged victim, has filed 2 suits against the district, Mark Berndt, Martin Springer, and former principal Martin Sandoval. Owen cites charges of sexual battery, assault, negligence, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. He alleges that authorities brushed off another complaint made against Berndt back in the 1990s. In January 1994, Mark Berndt was investigated for allegedly trying to molest a 10 or 11-year-old girl, but charges were never filed. Los Angeles County Sheriff Sergeant Dan Scott says that Berndt allegedly attempted to fondle the girl over her clothing that year. The district attorney's office rejected the case based on lack of evidence. Maria Trujillo has come forward to tell the press that she was among the group of girls pulled before a counselor when a female classmate complained about Berndt's advances that year. But in the end, the staff just chastised the girls and told them not to make up stories about their teacher, and apparently no further action was taken. Trujillo has told the Los Angeles Times that Berndt often seemed to be fiddling with his hands in his lap under his desk. Students believed he was masturbating, and they regarded with suspicion the jar of Vaseline he kept at his desk. Still, Trujillo had thought he was a good teacher, and she recalls that he'd brought her snack cakes and that even after she moved on to other teachers' classes, he'd send her Christmas cards and Beach Boys tapes. In 2012, Berndt was arrested and in the following year pleaded no contest to 23 counts of lewd conduct. Charges against him included feeding children his bodily fluids under the guise of a tasting game. He received a 25-year sentence and remains incarcerated. In 2014, the LAUSD settled with approximately $139 million to 69 Miramonte families and 81 students who claimed Berndt's misconduct, marking a record settlement by a school district in a child abuse case. Additionally, around $30 million went to settle claims with 65 other Miramonte students' families. The settlement closes a painful chapter, Stewart commented. A decade since the largest sexual abuse settlement from a school district, it serves as a lasting reminder of the consequences when school authorities dismiss warnings about a repeat offender. In response to the scandal, LAUSD removed over 200 teachers district-wide, and Miramonte's staff was completely replaced mid-year. All employees underwent mandatory training on reporting abuse. The Los Angeles Unified School District has agreed to a $3.55 million settlement with 2 more individuals claiming abuse by Berndt, according to their attorneys. The settlements did not involve any admission of liability by the district. Post-arrest, Miramonte was closed temporarily due to another teacher being charged with molesting a student, with staff reassigned to different locations. Berndt, held on $23 million bail, could face a life sentence if convicted.